I've used a bunch of different handheld LEDs over the past few years, and they all claim to be the best. And so of course, when Zhiyun sent me their Fiveray M20C, they also claimed it was the best. So I wanted to find out, was this the best handheld LED like they claimed, or is this just another standard light? And after testing it out for several weeks, I've reached some really surprising conclusions. So today I'm going to tell you whether or not I think this is actually the best handheld LED on the market. If you're new here, my name is Nick and I make content to help you create better videos, so don't forget to subscribe if you haven't already. Alright, so the first thing that struck me about the Fiveray was the aesthetics. And I'll admit, this definitely intrigued me a little bit. It's definitely different to the standard handheld LED panel that you'd see on the market. It's got this kind of tech retro aesthetic, which I'm actually a big fan of. I like the orange and black kind of color scheme. The buttons are placed in really intuitive spots and they feel really nice to use. I also really like the interesting text that they've used for the 20-watt RGB. I think it kind of makes it a bit more fun than just the standard business shirt kind of LED panel. I found the screen really clear and easy to read. And so overall, out of the box, it was a little bit ahead compared to the standard LED panel, just based on the aesthetics. Next, I wanted to look at the build quality. And I'd say overall, the build quality is really solid, but it's fairly typical for your handheld LED. Made up of mainly what feels like high quality plastic with the cooling system on the inside made of metal, which makes sense because you want to make sure it stays nice and cool. And it feels quality in your hand, I'd say, while also not being too heavy for a handheld device. Like it feels well balanced, feels like kind of what you'd expect from a good handheld LED. And I personally wouldn't be too worried about dropping this from like waist height. I think it would definitely survive. So in terms of the build quality, it's pretty standard, so not really any bonus points there. Next, I looked at the features. And again, I'd say they're solid, but fairly typical. Now this one is 20 watts, which is significantly brighter than most other LED panels out there. Most of the ones I've used are 5 watts. So that is points for the Fiveray. It's got a color temperature range of 2500 Kelvin all the way up to 10,000 Kelvin, which is a pretty broad range, so that's decent. It's also got full RGB control, which is to be expected, and all the colors look really nice and solid. Plus, it's also got a green magenta tint control, which kind of, to me, takes it to the top tier of LED panels. But again, nothing too unusual. It's also got 16 lighting effects modes, which again, kind of puts it into the top tier LED panel range. Generally, on the cheaper LED panels, you don't get lighting effects like this. And it has some standard modes like police car, PV, and candle. But it's also got a more interesting feature, which is the music mode, which enables it to react to audio in your environment, which is kind of cool. I'm trying to think of an example of when I'd actually use this in a real filming scenario. So it might be a little gimmicky. I don't know. It depends on your use case. So up to this point, I kind of think this is a solid but fairly typical LED panel. But the thing that really started to intrigue me was the combo kit that you can get it with. And the combo includes a whole bunch of modifiers. Now, the first modifier in the kit is this extension bracket. And literally all you have to do is you just pop it open, slot the M20C into it, and then close, and it will snap to lock. Now, immediately, it's actually added a few features. So first of all, the back of the extension bracket is magnetic, so I can now just stick it to any metal surface, which is really handy. Again, some LED panels do already have magnets built in, some don't. So this, again, to me, just puts it to the top tier again. Now, it also has a cold shoe on the bottom, so you can mount it to the top of a camera, for example. But from there, what makes it more interesting is that it's also got 3 other cold shoe mounts on the top and sides of the extension bracket. So if you've only got, like most cameras, one hot shoe where you can put an accessory, you could put this on top of the camera and then put something like a microphone on top of the M20C. So that's pretty cool. Now, typically one downside to an LED panel like this is they tend to be a little bit harsh. So often these panels will include a diffuser, and this light is no exception. And it comes in the form of this diffusion panel. And all you have to do is you just stick it on the front, because the extension bracket has magnets on the front that enable you to just quickly stick it on. Now, I really like this. A lot of other panels I've used in the past have silicon diffusers, which are a little bit more tricky to put on and off. But this being magnetic means you can literally just take it on and off at any point super fast with no problems whatsoever. Now, another issue I've run into with these LED panels is that you can't really focus them that well, especially when you've got the diffusion on. The light just kind of goes wherever. However, another accessory that comes with the combo kit is a honeycomb grid. Now, I think this is pretty cool, and I do know there are some other manufacturers that produce honeycomb grids for LED panels like this, but this is the first one I've used, and I've been really impressed. And again, just like the diffusion panel, all you have to do is just stick it on the front, and it magnetically attaches, which to me is super cool because I can just switch in and out those accessories depending on my shooting needs. But that's not all. If you need more direction focus with the panel, the combo also includes this, which is a 4-leaf barn door. And yes, you guessed it, it's also magnetic, so it just attaches like that. And then you can just unfold it like so. And now you can really focus the light to wherever you want it specifically pointed at. And to me, all of this is actually what really sets this LED panel apart from other handheld LEDs on the market. I personally haven't really seen other manufacturers making modifiers like this for an LED panel. To me, this just makes the panel that much more versatile. With the ones I've used in the past, I tend to use them kind of occasionally for specific things like accent lighting on products or occasionally for rim lighting. But for me, the biggest problem with using them on a regular basis has been the fact that they're kind of limited in their actual lighting functionality. Adding modifiers like this, especially ones that enable you to really direct and focus the light, open up a whole bunch more possibilities for the things that you could use an LED panel like this for. And if you ask me, I reckon Zhiyun is one of the companies out there that's kind of innovating the most at the moment when it comes to lighting products, which I think is awesome to see. Now, there are a couple of weaknesses. Number one, I think the battery life isn't amazing, and that is partly to be expected considering it's a 20-watt light. I got about 30 minutes when it was on full brightness, and the website claims you can get about 40 minutes, so obviously it's going to depend on your particular scenario, but you can charge it while you're using it, so it's not necessarily a big issue if you've got external power. The other thing was that the fan does get kind of loud when it's on full brightness and it starts to heat up. So if you're wanting to use this when you're recording with a microphone, it can prove a little bit tricky. To be honest, I actually think this might be the best handheld LED panel on the market right now, just because of the modifier kit. It just adds that much more versatility that you just can't get with other LED panels that I've seen out there. So overall, I definitely recommend it. Let me know in the comments if you've seen other lights that you think are better. But another really interesting product from Zhiyun that I recently reviewed is the CX100, which I've actually got right there as my accent light. And if you want to see the review for that, then you can check it out right here.